The day I left the door open, I discovered how small things can have big consequences. It all started in a mundane way. After a long day at work, exhausted, I came home without really thinking about what I was doing. As usual, I crossed the threshold of the front door without paying attention to whether it was properly closed. But that day, I forgot to close it completely. I went into the living room, took off my coat, and collapsed onto the couch tired. A few minutes later, a cold breeze hit me. I got up, curious, and saw the door wide open, the icy winter air flooding the room. My first thought was, the heat is escaping. I'm going to pay even more this month. Indeed, the heating system was running full blast, and all that warmth was going straight outside. It was a small oversight, but a costly mistake. As I closed the door, I realized that the cat had slipped outside through the opening. Taken by surprise, I rushed into the garden to find him, which only added to the chaos of the situation. But the biggest lesson came later when my roommate pointed out the open door. It sparked an important conversation about security and trust, and it opened my eyes to how simple forgetfulness can affect others. That day, I understood that little actions matter more than I thought. I went into the living room, turned on the TV, and settled onto the couch. But a few minutes later, I heard a strange noise. The air was chilly, far too cold for a winter evening. I got up, and as I walked towards the door, I felt the icy air rushing into the house. The door was still wide open. Suddenly, I realized the heat was escaping. The boiler was running at full capacity for no reason. I hadn't even thought of that. A moment later, the energy bill flashed in my mind. The heating was running full blast, but all that warmth was going out through that simple forgotten door. It was a mistake, yes, but a costly one. I quickly closed it, and as I returned to the living room, a heavy weight fell on my shoulders. The warmth wouldn't come back right away, and the house was already colder. This kind of negligence, however insignificant it seemed at first glance, started to take on more serious proportions. It wasn't just about money, but about comfort. The things we take for granted, like the illusion of being home, warm, can collapse in an instant. It wasn't the first time I'd let small things slip, details that seemed inconsequential, but gradually added up to become a series of problems. But that day, it hit me harder. As I closed the door, I felt a little foolish, a little irresponsible. Yet, it was just an open door, a trivial oversight. But deep down, this oversight was symptomatic of something bigger. Our tendency to ignore the little details until they start to weigh on us. Shortly after, another incident occurred. While checking the door, I noticed my cat had slipped into the garden. On the other hand, it wasn't entirely a bad thing. As I went to find him, I ran into a neighbor I hadn't seen in a while. It was a brief exchange, but it reminded me how sometimes seemingly insignificant things can open doors, not only in the house but also in our lives. When I came back inside, I took a moment to reflect. The open door had reminded me that sometimes everyday mistakes force us to take a step back. It was a small lesson, but it showed me that by being more attentive, we avoid more than just inflated bills or runaway pets. We preserve the balance of our environment and, more importantly, of our relationships. It wasn't just a door that stayed open. It was a call for greater awareness of my actions, a deeper reflection on what I was letting in and out of my life, and what it might mean in the long term. I closed the door and returned to the living room. But then I saw that my cat, probably attracted by the breeze, had escaped into the garden. It only added to the frustration of the moment. So I rushed outside into the cold to find him. It could have been worse. He could have crossed the street, but fortunately, he was there, sitting calmly. But the story doesn't stop there. It wasn't just about energy or free-roaming animals. This simple oversight also triggered a chain reaction with my loved ones. Later, when my roommate came home from work, she asked me why I always left the door open, as the security of the house was very important to her. It sparked a small argument, but it was also a great opportunity to discuss what each of us expected from our cohabitation. A small gesture, an open door, and just like that, a simple mistake turned into a point of tension between us. I could hear the frustration in her voice, a frustration that wasn't only aimed at the open door, but also at the lack of responsibility I sometimes showed in our shared life. It wasn't the first time I had forgotten things, seemingly insignificant details that, over time, accumulated. It was just a door after all, but by forgetting it, I was also letting through frustrations, unspoken expectations, and unshared concerns. Looking back, the argument was really a mirror of what we were both living through in our shared space. We were both a little caught up in our own worlds, focusing on our little routines and neglecting the importance of daily exchanges. That day, the open door was the catalyst for a much-needed conversation. We talked about the security of the house, but also about our need to communicate better, to be more attentive to gestures, even the simplest ones, that influence the harmony between us. I never thought that the forgotten door would push me to such a realization. A small gesture could lead to a big discussion, a reflection on how sometimes it only takes looking at the slightest open door to see what lies behind it. It taught me that there are no small neglects in cohabitation. Every detail matters. And then there was the evening light. With the door open, the living room received softer, natural light. It was a bit awkward, but I realized that the small mistake of not closing the door had allowed the light to change the mood of the room, creating a warmer and more welcoming atmosphere. It was as if the open door had brought a little magic into the room, an unexpected touch that, paradoxically, made everything feel more alive. LDMS venue. ETSI. Don Chakpati Ubli. Illinois Wayavate Unfamita Bukkashi. Quelques chose que chap en notre attention don nos vise si reglas et provisables? J regardes la lumière dans le salon. Et tout à coup, J any preve plus vor seport ubli comme un simple detail. El any te pas seulement en erreur communicate de l'argent, mais un port vers quelques chose de plus profonde. Si te comme si, à travers cette ouverture, J voyage la paix sur un autre jour, sur une lumière nouvelle. Finalement, si je la aimais insane quelque chose, and negligent de details comme firmer un port, J créais de effets bien plus larges que J n'aurais jamais imagines. Ce petit geste, J élevais les glisser, mais I elevate impact mon énergie, mon argent, ma sécurité, et meme mes relations. Si te comme un arbre dont les racines essiden bien plus loin qu'un any el imaginate. Ce que semblait insignifiant avec de repercussions que J n'avais pas vu venir. J repenses à ma colocataire, à la manière dont un port laisser vertivate de clench the frustrations, the discussions. Mais peut-être que si t'étais, en fin de compte, si que était vraiment important. Set pour que nous avons forces à ouvrir davantage nos esprits et à mieux nous comprendre. Parfois, Illinois faut un petit détail pour faire basculer la dynamique de tout un environment. Pour révéler de conversations qu'on n'aurait pas eues autrement. Etc. dans ces moments, ou les choses dérapent légèrement. Qu'on s'y rend compte que les petites erreurs sont parfois des invitations à grandir, à changer de perspective. J communicais à voir la porte d'une manière différente. Ce n'était plus simplement un objet utilitaire. Elle était un symbole de mon état d'esprit, de mon attention à ce que m'entoure. Si J laissait cette porte ouverte sans y penser, c'était aussi un peu comme si j'ai oublié d'être attentif à ma vie, à mes relations, à mon environnement. Mais quand J la ferme consignment, chaque mouvement devenait plus significatif. Si devenait un geste simple, mais chargé de sens. Depuis ce jour, chaque fois que J ferme un port, J prends un second pour me dire que si simple acte peut en dire long sur mon attention, sur mon respect de autres, et sur mon engagement à être plus conscient de mon environnement. Ce n'est pas juste un port, c'est un acte que de répercussions au-delà de l'immédiat. Dans ces petits gestes, Illinois YA unlecken devai. Chak detail count. Chak moment marait kuon Louis accord notre plein attention. J commence à appliquer cette réflexion à d'autres aspects de ma vie. Par exemple, quand J les un conversation in achieve OK, J negligis un message d'un ami. J realizes que CS petites portes ouvertes peuvent aussi avoir de consequences. So an invisibles maze toujours présents. Un port laissé avert dans ma communication. Peuvent laisser entrer de malentendus, de non-dits. Et un port for me trop brusquement peuvent créer de barriers. Avec le temps, J appers à consider chaque geste quotidien comme une opportunité de choicer plus consignment. Un port que sera aussi firm est une métaphore parfaite pour la vie. Elle symbolise les joies que nous faisons, aussi petits soient elles. CES joie facin in notre environment. Nos relations et même notre bien-être intérieur. Et même si n'est un port. Elle est aussi un rappel constant que chaque detail